It is the second Sunday at Cowboys training camp, and that brings something that sort of resembles real football. We'll head to Oxnard in a moment for the blue-white scrimmage and more. I'm Mike Ducey in our downtown Dallas studios, and this is Sports Sunday. Ahead tonight, Fox 4's Edwrd Egros one-on-one with quarterback Dak Prescott. Does he feel he's been unfairly treated after his comments on the anthem story? We also hear tonight from Zeke, his thoughts on having an expanded role in this offense. Ed and I list the players we are most looking forward to seeing in action once the preseason games get started. That in reaction to Terrell Owens' decision to skip his own Hall of Fame induction ceremony, the people he may have hurt most. Coming up. First, a Cowboys training camp tradition. Once camp is 10 days old or so, it's the blue-white scrimmage. Decent crowd in Oxnard to watch a glorified football practice. Dak and Zeke leading the offense onto the field on a sunny California Sunday. Prescott to Elliott here, a little swing pass that probably would have been a touchdown in a real game. They had their moments. So did the Dallas defense. 4 picks by the Dallas D. Backup Cooper Rush throwing this one up for Marquez White. This is a big camp for veteran wide receiver Terrence Williams, coming off a foot injury and coming off an off-field incident, a public intox charge that's now been dropped. Williams trying to keep his eye on the ball in more ways than one.
I can continue to fight through anything that they put me through. Just continue to keep being myself, keep being the spirited guy that I am, and just come out here and just find ways to keep stacking good days on good days. So I got to continue to keep working, which is a process, but I feel like I got to just keep coming out here with a clear mind and just do the things that Coach needed me to do and just continue to get better.
A week ago tonight, the national anthem issue seemed to be the talk of Cowboys training camp. Jerry Jones had answered questions about it the previous Wednesday, reiterating his position that his players would indeed stand for the anthem. When I was told moments before a scheduled interview that from Jerry that the anthem question would be off limits, I decided to skip that interview altogether, and I took some grief for it. But nothing like the grief that Dak Prescott has been forced to put up with over the last 10 days or so. The third-year quarterback had the gall to say that he believes it's right to stand for the anthem before the game. That's his belief. He said he understood the need to battle social injustice, but that there are better ways, more effective ways to do that. Since then, he's been labeled as a sellout and worse by commentators who only days before had likely been his biggest fans. Dak deserves better from his critics and frankly deserves better from the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, whose mandate puts Dak and others in a very difficult spot. One-on-one now with Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, who talked with Fox 4's Edwrd Egros.
Dak, you've grown accustomed to the spotlight as the starting quarterback of the Cowboys, but without Jason Witten and Dez, how much has your leadership role changed in the locker room? How much have you adjusted how you interact with the other guys?
Yeah, for me, it's just about being more vocal. I've always, from the moment I came in and the moment I was able to take over as a starter, felt like I was always a leader, and I was always kind of forced to be more of a leader, being the quarterback of the team. And that's something that I give credit to Jason, Sean, and a lot of those guys that made me step up and be a leader as such a young guy, as a rookie and in a second year. But going into this third year, being more comfortable with everything that I'm doing, with the team, with the offense, with seeing the defense, knowing the defense that we're trying to do, and as well as just knowing my teammates, it's allowed me to step up and now encourage other guys to be better leaders.
If I had to pick one game that summed up the frustration of last year, to me, it's the Atlanta game, getting sacked 8 times, showing a difference in games when pressured versus when clean. How do you work on making better decisions in games when you are feeling pressure?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, that's something that starts in the film room separation. That's what training camp is for, is that we're going to have good days and bad days here in training camp, and it's about staying focused through those bad days and not getting overwhelmed, not trying to do too much to make it, oh, I've got to turn this bad day into a great day by making this one big play. And it's about just staying within myself, staying within the offense, making sure my teammates and the other guys around me continue just to try to get through a bad day and get through a slump or something of that sort that we're having. So when we get in those situations in the games, we've been through it and we know how to get over it.
Dak, I know you've addressed the national anthem controversy before, but some have been critical of your stance, with a few even calling you a race traitor. How hurtful are words like those?
You know, if I've ever listened, in my whole career, if I ever listened to what people said about me, I know I wouldn't be here today. So it's about just staying focused, continuing what I believe in, knowing I have a great support system with family, with friends, with great teammates, teammates that I give a lot of credit to for telling me how they feel about the situation, about the things I said, as well as coaches in this organization. So when you have the support system that I have, it's about standing by what I believe in and just continuing to try to get better in football and making it about football.
Dak, how do you show this opinion on the anthem is yours alone and not something fed by Mr. Jones or those high in the Cowboys organization?
Yeah, I mean, I start off my comments by saying that whether I played for the Dallas Cowboys and the Jones family or not, that's what I believe in and that's what I stand by. So I'm not in the position and I'm not here to try to make people believe that those are my words. I know for a fact those are my words, and people that know me, people that have any encounters in me, know that as well. So for me, it's about just, as I said, continuing to stand by what I said, and just knowing that it's such a controversial issue. You can't be right and you're going to be wrong by some people all the time. So it's just about staying focused to what I can control.
Broader picture here on social media, you praise LeBron James for an ambitious plan to start the I Promise School, offering free tuition and uniforms and guaranteed tuition to the University of Akron for graduates. You've taken on ambitious ventures yourself. How important is service?
Yeah, service is number one. Standing by action, doing everything that you can. As a lot of people call it, groundwork or whatever you may call it, and that's getting in the schools, that's making sure you're hands-on with the youth, and the money does only go so far, and it does a great thing to be able to give money and to be able to fund certain things. But if you're not using your time, if you're not going in there and relating to the kids that you relate to, that the kids that can connect to you, if you're not going to do that, then the money only means so much. So it's very important to take action and to doing it by putting your own time into it.
Dak, are pro athletes role models?
100%.
How are you encouraging other Cowboys to give back?
Yeah, I mean, it's just important, as you said, as an athlete and playing for the Dallas Cowboys, anytime you wear this star, you're seen by millions of people. So we know we're role models. We know the impact that we can have on people. So it's about going out there and making sure it's a positive impact and using your name, using the brand, and make sure that you're giving back and you're inspiring and motivating the young people.
And Ed stays with us for the open mic. I'm more impressed by Dak Prescott every time I hear him in a situation like that. You guys spent some time on the anthem issue. We'll spend a little more time on it here. An artist in our area is getting some social media buzz for a mural that he painted in the Trinity Groves area depicting Dak as the character from the Jordan Peele film Get Out, essentially saying Prescott is hypnotized, paralyzed, selling out because of the view he is sharing. What do you think?
Well, I know we live in a world of hyperbole where it's, you know, one side or the other, but the movie dealt with a black man who is going to die at the hands of white people, and Dak stands to make millions of dollars playing football. This is not the same thing at all, and I don't want to downplay the vital issues all of this stems from. They are very important. They're very much worth discussing, but this mural doesn't take into account Dak Prescott actually believing what he says.
And Dak, after practice today, when asked about the mural, said, quote, "Everybody has a right to their opinion." The mural, by the way, as you heard on our newscast last hour, was partially painted over late today, presumably not by the artist. I think Dak talks about leading by example, being a good leader, being a good citizen, and that makes all the difference in the world, in his view. On the field, Prescott had a really good rookie year, took a step back in his second year, at least when you look at it, you know, on the surface. But 8 games in, he had 16 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. Last half of the season, 6 TDs and 9 picks, 6 of those games without Ezekiel Elliott. So what do you make of Dak from one year to the next, and are we really going to find out the type of quarterback he is here in year 3?
I think we absolutely will, and you mentioned Zeke not being there. Tyron Smith wasn't there either, his biggest protector. So let's go by the numbers here for a little bit. Dak's rookie season, when he was clean, not under pressure, his passer rating was 118. That's better than any quarterback from last year. He's one of the best when not under pressure, but when he is uncomfortable, he has one of the bigger drop-offs of any gunslinger, and you could tell even the threat of pressure affected Dak. The start to this season will be about trusting that he will be protected and that he can remain comfortable.
Yeah, your question to him went to that during the interview about being perhaps more poised when the pocket is not clean. You know, who replaces the production of Witten and Des Bryant in the early stages of camp? Those are big questions. It's looking as though Dak's new security blanket might be Cole Beasley. He'll be used in a number of different ways in this passing game, you know, and not so much just in the slot. Beasley, they'll obviously need some more help as well, but this veteran may be finding his place in this new-look offense.
It's the new adventures of old Cole Beasley. He was the leading receiver in 2016 when they won a lot of games. Then defenses doubled him up. Short routes weren't available, so Dez and Terrence Williams became the open targets. They just weren't making plays, and then later not adjusting to some of those awkwardly thrown balls when Dak wasn't comfortable in the pocket. Somebody else has to win the short and medium game, and then that will make Beasley formidable.
All right, and stick around. We'll talk some more Cowboys and NFL in general coming up. We're discussing the Hall of Fame, which current Cowboys, guys on this active roster, are most likely to someday be Hall of Famers. That's ahead. Plus.
Do we see any more kettle jumps, you think, this year? Is it Salvation Army?
I think we might.
Ezekiel Elliott in better shape this camp and staying out of trouble during this past offseason. Is he poised to recapture some of that 2016 magic? We will hear from Zeke. The season before last, Ohio State's Ezekiel Elliott took the NFL by storm, winning the league rushing title with more than 1,600 yards. Last year, a turbulent one. He served a 6-game suspension for an alleged domestic violence incident. Still ran for just under 1,000 yards. And during this past offseason and during this training camp, Zeke Elliott has been a model citizen, no trouble. And on the field, he looks leaner, quicker. He knows that in order for the Cowboys to reach their goals this year, he will need to have a big year. Maybe not necessarily a season where he leads the league in rushing, but it's one of the big questions entering this season. Can the Dallas offense duplicate what it did during that 2016 year?
I think we can. I think we have a lot of right guys. We still have that tough O-line, and you know, we're going to run the football and you know, be physical. Yeah, I'm a running back, so you know that's the type of things you like to hear, and I mean that's what it's been. That's how the Dallas Cowboys have always been, and you know, we're going to continue that. I think that's something I'm ready for, something I've actually been asking for, you know, just to get involved more in the passing game, getting out in space, and, you know, creating some mismatches. You know, just something that, you know, we're continuing to work on, and, I mean, it's a lot better, you know, catching the ball at 5 yards and then, you know, getting tackled by a DB right, rather than running through the line and having to deal with all those big guys in there.
Zeke Elliott sat down with KSAT in San Antonio. We thank our friends down there for that video as they continue their camp coverage. In the few days I was out in Oxnard, it was obvious that Zeke Elliott was more relaxed. He doesn't have the threat of the suspension hanging over his head. Usually, Ed, you would automatically say that the quarterback is the key to a season, certainly on offense. On this team, it might be Dak and Zeke 1 and 1A. They both need to be pretty good.
They both need to be pretty good, but I still think Dak is what makes this offense go in a lot of ways. When you see this a lot, when a running back has to face a base defense, meaning there's not an extra defensive back, fewer bodies at the line of scrimmage, Dak needs to have early success with the passing game so it opens up space for Zeke as a runner. Now Zeke will be used some as a receiver, a little bit more than as before, but he may be able to help his own cause. Now, something to think about as far as like the NFL in general. Todd Gurley, Jordan Howard with the Rams and Bears, actually similar backs here. Gurley faced few base defense and was phenomenal. Howard faced a wall pretty much every time he had the rock and was not an MVP candidate. That's going to be dependent upon Zeke's success, how the passing game goes.
And I am anxious to see how they use him in different ways in that passing game. You can tell just based on that interview and others that he's given, he's excited about maybe giving the opportunity to be a little more versatile this year. You will not see much of Zeke or Dak in the exhibition games, which start Thursday night at San Francisco. Thought we'd discuss those, some of the players we are most interested in seeing. I'll go with two rookies on this offense, both of whom could eventually be starters, but I'm assuming we'll see quite a bit of them anyway. Wide receiver Michael Gallup for sure. He was impressive during my short stay at camp. Third-round pick. He won't wow you with his speed, but he is a good route runner. He has had some drops, but overall it looks as though he's sure-handed, a kid with a dynamic personality and seems to have developed early chemistry with quarterback Dak Prescott. Also for that offense, it'll be interesting to see how left guard Connor Williams, the second-rounder from Texas, fares. He's been plugged into that spot. Again, how much we'll actually see him with that first unit in exhibition games remains to be seen. He's somewhat raw, but really, really athletic. It would take something alarming in the preseason for him not to be the starting left guard September 9th at Carolina. Ed, what do you think?
Well, two guys I'm looking for. Now, when the Cowboys traded for Tavon Austin, they labeled him as sort of a Lance Dunbar type. You run, catch, maybe play special teams. But at practice, he's only been a receiver, and as far as I can tell, he has never lined up in the backfield. Now, is that because he'll be a top option at wideout, or is it because they're so depleted they are desperate for receivers? The other guy I'm looking for, Bo Scarborough, the backup running back. Can he make this team? Can he stay healthy? He graded as one of the bigger backs in the draft, phenomenal in goal line situations, and if Zeke is used in so many different ways, including the passing game, somebody has to carry the rock deep in ball games.
Not to be confused with Joey Scarborough, who sang the theme from The Greatest American Hero. You know how that goes, right? Believe it or not, I'm walking on it. Remember that one, right?
What?
Ray Lewis and Brian. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame. Ray Lewis and Brian Dawkins.